This is how you quit worrying about money. This is the actual psychological step-by-step process for becoming a millionaire, starting with absolutely nothing. So whether you're living paycheck to paycheck right now or running a thriving cash flow style business, but you can't leave it for a single day and you feel entombed to it, this episode's for you. So let's talk about the actual psychological steps to becoming financially independent. Not even just millionaire. Like, you can take it as far as you want to, but too often, because I watch a lot of financial stuff, right? It's what interests me, so I watch a lot of the different podcasts and the episodes and channels, and I mean, you can name 100 different ones, and I think one of the problems that I have with almost every single one of them is they almost never talk about the psychology of money. They usually talk about your how-tos, and they can build you a great spreadsheet that'll show you, hey, here is somebody that starts investing at the age of 18 and assuming a 5% raise and a 9% return over the course until he's 65, he or she's 65, they're going to make, $7 million in the market and retire happily. But it doesn't actually cover any of the psychology, ups and downs, struggles, and difficulties that people deal with on a day-to-day basis because we live real life in real life and not on a spreadsheet.
So do you think it's more important to know the psychology behind it or the steps to take to become a millionaire?
That's a good question. I think it's actually the psychology.
Okay, so we're talking about the psychology behind the steps. So we can tell you what to do all day, but we're talking about why you should do what you do and like what the science behind it is, kind of, or like the brain behind it.
Yeah, the brain. I like that. I like the way that you put that. Actually, the brain behind it, because the brain behind it allows you to overcome things. Meanwhile, a lot of spreadsheet warriors, what they end up doing is when real life happens, they don't know what to do. So I would rather be somebody who knows how to overcome something or deal with a scenario or be able to adjust or pivot versus somebody if this plan doesn't work perfectly, I'm in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, because a lot of people miscalculate it. Like you always say, they forget the real life cell on the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
They're not thinking about things that are actually happening in their life or the emotions attached to the decisions they're making.
Yes.
Yeah.
And understanding that in the step-by-step process, right, there's only 2 steps.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah,
I did notice that, but I was like, we'll see where this goes.
There's only 2 steps.
Okay.
If I can get it down to 1, I'll get it down to 1. I will. I will continue to work on getting it down. There's only 2 steps to this.
There are 2 hefty steps. A lot, like the stuff that we have to say behind them are big hefty steps, but they are 2. Yes.
Yeah, but there's only 2 steps. There's not 19 steps. There's not if you do this, then you got to do that, and if you do this, you got to do that, and then like it branches off, and it looks like a giant RPG game. If you're a video game person, like you know what I'm talking about, and you're way off in the weeds. Like you don't have to worry about that. This is 2 steps. Okay, so in understanding the importance behind them and understanding why you are doing this is what will allow you to actually step out and make a financial change and make a difference in your life. So that being said, the first step, and by the way, we're going to go over the steps and then we're going to go over why the steps are what they are. So the first step is pay yourself first. Now this is one we've talked about before, but I want to actually define it and talk about the psychology behind it, because a lot of people will say like, well, put money in a 401k or put money into a high yield savings or put money into an HSA or whatever the 14 different pre-tax, post-tax, deferred
whatever
tax
way people
accounts.
are going to save, whatever.
However people are trying to save, they're going to say that. They're going to say the how, but we don't talk about the why. All right? And then this is also going to help the people that are thinking, well, how do I actually do this if at the end of the month I don't have any money left over to save? Because that's a big problem, right? So a lot of people are, if they make $3,000 a month, they're spending $3,000 a month. They're like, well, there's nothing to save left over. So how would I do this anyway? So step 1, I'm already out. No. So the psychology and understanding behind it is that when you pay yourself first, even if it's a small amount, okay, when I say pay yourself first, it's an actual timeline.
Can we rewind and tell, I know we've said it in past episodes, but if somebody hasn't, what you mean by pay yourself first?
So pay yourself first is where you are actually, anytime you have income come into you, I don't care if it's $10, $1,000, $10,000, you are taking a percentage of that money and putting it into a separate account that is away from you. That's actually the psychology piece.
Yeah.
That is away from you, because Parkinson's law is a study that states that you will spend the resources that you have readily available in front of you. So that's going to be time, consumables, resources such as money. So if you have money in front of you, you're going to spend it. So the first thing we want to do is we want to start getting money away from us in a healthy way. So the way that we're going to do that is pay ourselves first. And the first part is the part of the name in that name is first for a reason, and the reason it is that is because you have to do it in that chronological order. First. Most people are like, well, I got to pay my taxes, I got to pay Discover, I got to pay my Amex, I got to pay rent, I got to pay mortgage, I got to pay utility. Those are all after now. So now,
before you pay anything at the beginning of the month, you should take money and put it away for yourself somewhere where you can't touch it.
Exactly.
All right.
So it is away and out of sight.
Okay.
So this could be some people like brokerage accounts. Like the way I like to start people off is just start small. Go open a separate bank account that is away from your traditional bank that you literally have to drive to it and deposit it, and or drive to it and withdraw it. So don't have a debit card for it. Don't have easy access to it, because the point behind this and the psychology behind this is that I want you to have something that actually has the potential to compound. That way you understand the difference between a win and a loss. So if you're listening to this or watching this right now and you're thinking in your head, or you've experienced, I go every single month, and then I restart the next month, and I'm just praying for Friday to get to Friday. That way I can get the paycheck and then survive until the next Friday. And then you just end up working again for the next Friday, and you're on this nonstop hamster wheel that you can't get off of.
Yeah, or every single paycheck at the end of the period, you notice every time, oh, I made it perfectly, or I have an excess $20. How is it that every time, no matter what I thought I was going to spend, I end up with nothing in my account before the next paycheck?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the reason behind that is actually the psychology of money and the psychology of you, because you are actually, it's just a habit.
Parkinson's law.
You're Parkinson's law. You actually will continue to do that because that's habit. So you're going to continue to act the way that you always have. You're in that paradigm. Okay. So the why behind this, and the big reason, is not just, hey, I want you to put $10 to the side, or $100 to the side, or $1,000 to the side. Like, yes, I want you to get there. But the bigger thing for me, right? And this, just for context, this has, like my case studies on this, dozens and dozens and dozens of people moving from having a few $1,000s to their name to millionaires. Many in the past year, because I've been working individually with people one-on-one. So this is absolutely a proven method of taking someone from financially struggling, financial fear, a bad relationship with money, to positive relationship with money, understanding the psychology behind it and making better decisions and getting better results. So the why here is that I want you to understand and feel the difference between a win and a loss. Because right now, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, or even if you have a successful business or you're running a successful job and being paid, but you're spending it all and you don't feel like you can get away from that, is you don't understand the difference between a win and a loss. Your body feels the same. So if your body feels the same between a win and a loss, nothing will change. So if we're able to do this and put away just a little bit of money up front, and you bet on yourself, and you literally say to yourself, I'm worth this, this is my money, this is nobody else's money, because this is mine first, and then everyone else will get taken care of afterwards. You get a little dopamine release. You get a little dopamine hit. And what that'll do is your body will show like, oh, I want that again. I want that little win again. And then you start building a psychology of habit around that, around a win, as opposed to surviving. So I want you to move into thriving versus just surviving.
Not only that, but I feel like there's also a level of it. If you're putting away enough, just enough to make you like have to work a little bit harder to get to the next month, there's like, yes, it's a win because you feel accomplished after you get through the month and you're like, I put that money away first and I still made it to the next month. But also there's a level of yourself getting uncomfortable, like putting yourself in an uncomfortable position that feels good too.
Very good. So that's the next part of the psychology.
That.
No, that's perfect. That was perfect transition. Perfect move into what it'll do is it'll unlock a level of creativity in you that you didn't realize was laying dormant. Yeah. Because you were just in such a rhythm of, it might have been misery, but in such a rhythm and such a pattern of just like dot, 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 dot. And then like every single Friday I get paid, and then I survive to the next Friday, then I get paid, I survive to the next Friday, I get paid. So you're just in this rhythm, but by breaking out of that and by betting on yourself, it unlocks a creativity in you, because you know internally, psychologically, when you're going to be paying yourself, you're going to make sure it's in there. And then after that, you're like, oh, if I need $800 and I only got $600 to pay whatever that's coming up, you're going to find a way to actually do that. It'll actually keep you in a creative mode that will allow you to make more, earn more, and build more, That way you can actually live the life that you want, or start moving towards the direction that you actually want, as opposed to, okay, we're just going to put this onto a spreadsheet and we're going to get XYZ into a 401k and hope and pray that it works over the next 40 years, because it's not working right now. So you have to start betting on yourself. And the best way to do that is psychologically understanding the why behind paying yourself first.
Yeah. And though it doesn't feel good when you put the money away and you're like, you kind of are like, you feel like you're drowning, like you're underwater and you're like, I don't know what to do here. What do I do when you don't have enough? If you can't make that, say you have $800 payment, you only have $600. It doesn't feel good. I guarantee that you'll figure it out and you'll overcome it.
Yes.
I have every time I've done this to myself and I've been like, oh my goodness, I can't pull money out of this account. What do I do? Every time I find a way to make the money, and then you feel even more accomplished because you realize that you can do more than you thought.
Exactly. So instead of doing the normal habit where you sit down and you stay stagnant, you actually build some sort of movement towards a positive result.
Yeah.
So with you, let's say you're putting yourself in that situation. I know you did a little bit recently with an investment that you made. So like when you made that investment up front, like that was technically a self-pay. And you're like, well, for me to feel good about like what I have left, and like you immediately went into a creative mode of like, I can do like unique shoots, I can sell this, I can create a product like this.
I'm still on that, and I gave the money away 5 months ago.
Yeah, but it created this level of creativity
and I'm still
in you.
creating. I'm still in creation mode. I haven't left it yet because I'm still not like, I'm like, oh, until I get back to what I was at before I put that money away, I'm gonna remain in creation mode.
See how it like pushed you forward?
Oh, it absolutely did.
Like that was you. That's the psychology and the importance behind it.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about this.
Yeah. I didn't believe you when you were like, if you make yourself uncomfortable, it's gonna make you work harder. I'm like, Todd, I'm already working. I was not working that hard apparently, because now I actually feel like I'm working. I was coasting then.
Yeah. You
don't even realize you've gotten so comfortable.
Yeah. You just got in that habit.
Yeah.
You got in that rhythm. You got in that role. And that's it. You're like, oh, this is really hard.
Yeah, not only that, but it's been good for like my self-esteem and my mental health too.
Yeah.
On top of just being good for my business or like my financials.
We're gonna get into deep stuff if you're not careful there, like because people go, well, my actions follow my feelings. It's the opposite way around.
Yeah.
Your feelings follow your actions. So if you want to feel better, move. You will feel better after you start moving, after you start creating, after you make this forced first payment to yourself and you bet on yourself. Like, it's going to feel good. You're going to get that dopamine hit. And then you're going to go, well, why do I feel a little bit better? I kind of feel like doing more.
Yeah.
That's the key to what we're talking about right now. That's why this is absolute step one. You have to do it. Have to find a creative way, force yourself to do it. And then on the back end, everything will work itself out because you will be in a more creative space. That's the psychological understanding of it.
I've been super, super obsessed with this episode of Huberman Labs I watched like a month ago, where he talked about willpower. I don't know if you watched that episode. And it's about the part of your brain called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex. And like,
you nailed that.
Anterior mid-cingulate cortex. It's because I've been talking about it so much and thinking about it. And it's basically a part of your brain that grows every time you do something that you don't want to do. So like if you force yourself to work out, even though you hate working out, it grows and gets bigger. And the part of the brain is the largest in people who are like the greatest scholars, the greatest athletes in the world, people who are like the happiest, like scientifically the happiest. And it gets bigger. But if you don't do things, if you just stay comfortable and don't put yourself into positions that you don't want to be in, it shrinks. And it's actually directly connected to your will to live. So the more often that you do things that you don't want to do, it grows bigger and your will to live grows as well. So like we're talking about this indirectly right now. There's a whole episode. It's a 3-hour-long episode. And it's all I've been talking about lately. And I'm so obsessed with it. But like,
you did a really good job of summing that up in 30 seconds.
Thanks. I didn't want to make this a whole thing. And don't leave us to go watch him, but watch it later. But this is exactly what we're talking about here.
Yes.
I just said it helped my mental health, and I didn't realize I was doing it, and I was practicing that scientific scenario.
So that's the actual physiology.
Yeah, that's what happens in your brain, and so
I'm talking about the psychology behind it now. That's even the backup for the physiology.
Yeah,
beyond.
And it's directly correlated to your dopamine levels and stuff. But I was talking to one of my guy friends, and I convinced him to open a second account, and he puts, I think it's like $200 every paycheck.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be, it could be $10 in the beginning. I don't care what it is.
And after I explained all of that to him, like I made him watch the episode and everything, that's what pushed him to start doing it, because he realized, he was like, because he has mental health problems too and stuff, and he's like, I just need to start doing more things that I don't want to do. And that was one of them, and now he's doing it, and he's like, he's already saved, I think, like $1,000.
Yeah, and it's going to feel great.
Yeah.
He's probably never had $1,000
Yeah,
before.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's never had $1,000 in his account at once.
That is the psychology and the importance and the physiology, apparently.
Yeah.
What was the name of it?
Oh, wait. Anterior mid-cingulate cortex.
That's impressive. All
yeah.
right.
You have 2 of them.
That very impressive. That's awesome. So I'm glad you were able to add that, because that's just more evidence and proof that doing this and taking this step 1. Remember, there's only 2 steps. So please do at least the first step.
Yeah.
And it's going to lead you into the second step. So if we want to talk about the second step, so that's the psychology behind understanding why you have to pay yourself first. So whether you live in check to check right now, whether you're a business owner that is profitable, but you don't know what to do with the profit and you just kind of have money everywhere. I've been at that stage before. Many business owners that I've worked with have been at that stage where I kind of just have money everywhere, but I don't really have a plan for it. Make that your plan. Make that your step 1, is that you pay yourself first. You have a separate account for it, and then you're going to plan for that late. Like, you're going to have benefits of that later, because you're going to have options and investments and things like that.
And then go read Todd's book if you can't cash flow after this, because they'll tell you what to do with the money.
Yeah, I'll tell you exactly what to do with the money, step by step in that as well. Okay, so if that's step 1, which, by the way, step 1 is actually smaller than step 2. Sorry. But,
Great.
Yeah,
Here we go.
Yeah. So step 1 is pay yourself first, understanding the psychology and the improvements that it makes for you behind that. Step 2 is understanding first, before we define what the step is that you have 2 major expenses. Everybody has the same 2 largest expenses. Nobody's different, especially if you're in the United States. All right. So the first expense that everybody has is time. So whether you're trying to earn more, whatever you're trying to spend your time on is being spent. So it becomes your biggest expense. All right. So most people are spending how many hours per week trying to earn money?
Probably like 40.
40 is like the common, right?
Yeah.
You got your 9 to 5, you got your 40 hours a week.
Yeah. Some people more.
Many people more today.
A lot of people more,
40 is
actually.
probably the minimum today for normal jobs. Like,
don't ask Todd how much he works.
We'll get into that. So the minimum for like your traditional Outlook is 40. And many employers are paying for 40, but asking for more.
For 55.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you're getting if you're on salary and not hourly, right? They might be asking you for 50 hours, 60 hours a week, even though like the agreement was technically 40, but there's no way to get the amount of progress done that's needed for the salary in that 40 hours.
Yeah.
So everyone's first largest expense is time. The importance of understanding these expenses is because the step number 2 solves these. So that's why we have to define these first. So the first largest expense for everybody is time. The second largest expense that basically nobody plans for, and if they do, they don't understand it. And then if they make a mistake on it, they just worry about it. And number 2 is taxes. The reason that this sucks is because if you spend more time, to earn more, so you're spending the first largest expense, you are now increasing your second largest expense.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that.
That's the difficult piece, but that's why these 2 steps of paying yourself first and then what the second step will be is so important, because it'll eliminate this.
Okay.
So if you spend more time on your first expense, like of earning money, it'll increase your second expense, which is taxes. Like, hey, go spend more time, right? Earning as much as you can, and what will happen?
You'll have to pay more in taxes.
You will have to pay more in taxes, but the other thing that happens is you're going to see relationships fail. You're going to see the things that are important to you fall, and it's going, and also that will ensure that you actually have to spend more money, because divorces are expensive.
Or the cars or the consistent flowers to save your marriage. Car, flowers, nice house. Keep her or him happy.
Yeah, all the things that like put you back on the hamster wheel happens because you're trying to work too much to solve something that isn't internally for you anyways. And then number 2, the expense number 2 being taxes, is if you go out and actually earn more, taxman sticks his hand a little bit deeper in your pocket, sends you right back into mediocrity and frustration, and then what do? Well, I'm going to go spend more time to earn more to pay either that off or like offset that. Yeah. So you get in this nice little cycle of I'm going to spend time and I'm going to have the expense of time and I'm going to have the expense of taxes constantly pulling me back into a space that I don't want to be.
Okay, Todd. What's the solution to this?
So step 2. Step 2 is understanding that people want to be rich, okay, so that they can spend money.
Well, yeah.
Which, if you think about that, how the hell do you become rich?
Well, they don't want to be rich to save money.
If your goal is to spend.
Yeah.
But what's ironic about this, okay, which again, like we got to go deeper into this on the psychology and understanding of this, is that if you want to be rich to spend, the only way to become rich is to spend.
Yeah.
Now that you're confused.
I am.
Okay, so.
I think you worded it weird. I think you meant like.
No, I worded it exactly as I wanted to, actually.
Okay.
I know. That's my point in saying this is that if you try to save, you won't get there.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I understand that. I'm just wording it so where people understand that.
No. We're going to get there. Okay. We're going to get there. I promise.
Then unconfuse me.
I promise. So the only way to become rich is to spend. Now, the problem is people's goal to become, people's goal in being rich is that they can spend, but they're talking about the wrong spend. They don't understand what to forecast they're spending on. Okay, so when they think rich, they think things. They think, I can buy this, I can buy that, I can buy that, which is fine. But the only way to get there is you have to understand your two top expenses, which are what?
Taxes, time.
And time. So you have to spend to overcome those expenses. So when people think about being rich, especially in the beginning, if they don't understand the psychology of things, they just mostly talk about saving money, right? Or they just talk about thinking about saving money. The problem with saving is that it's losing too fast. So if you try to save in any sort of traditional account, savings account, anything like that, typically you're going to have a savings rate or growth rate less than inflation. So therefore you're actually losing money by saving. So the only way to overcome that is just to make so much. If you're going to go that route, is just to make so much that it doesn't matter. But in reality, it'll just take time a little bit longer to take it back. But it will take it back.
Yeah.
If you don't understand where to actually spend or forecast your spending on. So if your two biggest expenses are time and taxes, the only way to overcome this is by spending. It just happens to be a double-edged sword. So you can spend your money on skill sets. You can spend it on investments. You can spend it on internal work. You can spend it on psychological work. You can spend it on physiological work. You can spend it on you. That's the only way to overcome those two expenses. If you're spending it on anything outside of you, especially in the beginning, you're not going to overcome them. You're going to have too much taxes. You're going to have too much time invested into it. So the only way that you can do this is you can understand leverage, and you can understand understand what I call, or what you actually want to spend the money on, and what I call is value at a discount. Okay? So let's just talk about my last job. I was in logistics. So I would work 40 to 50 hours a week at a desk job, and I would get paid $25,000 to $30,000 a year. And I would make a couple hundred calls a day, and it would result in whatever amount of revenue. It would result in, $1 million worth of revenue over the course of, a year now the same company, that logistics owner, okay, makes $1 million a year. I worked 40 to 60 hours a week. The owner works 15 to 20 hours a week on average. That person gets paid $1 million. I get paid $30,000. So what is that? That is the owner.
Oh yeah.
Understanding value at a discount.
Yeah, because paying you is value at a discount.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he or she is going, hey, I'm going to spend $30,000 on this employee, $40,000 on this employee, in exchange for $1 million in revenue that is usable for me. Now, what it's also doing is understand that if you can focus on what I call value at a discount, and value at a discount is anything that you can pay for that creates more than what it costs in a number of different factors. So it could be time, it could be profit, it could be skills, it could be human capital, it could be a number of different things. It could be physical, like a house.
Could it be your lawn guy?
It could be the lawn guy. It could be It could be teaching, could be coaching, could be mentorship, right?
Yeah.
If you can cut down the learning curve on something, you cut off 5 years of learning, you cut off $1 million in expense. You cut off how much? So if you're spending on coaching, okay, and you cut off 2 years of learning curve, what did you just save?
Time and money.
Time. And any time that you're spending time earning money, you're having taxes.
Yeah.
So you saved on both your largest expenses by hiring a coach at a value at a discount. So you have to be focused on value at a discount. Value at a discount and investing in that, between investing in yourself and investing in value at a discount. Those are your two biggest, these need to become your two biggest spends, okay, to overcome your two biggest expenses. You need to invest in yourself, i.e. skill sets. Okay. So step one is you invest in skill sets. You invest in yourself. You invest in your psychology and your understanding of the world, economics. You get smarter, you get better, you become more valuable. Okay. When you have skill sets, because you get paid on what you create and the value that you bring and the result that you bring for other people and the problems that you solve for other people. You do not get paid on the time that you invest into something. So that goes back to my example of, okay, let's talk about the logistics worker. He works 40 to 60 hours a week and gets paid $30,000. The owner gets paid $1 million working 15 to 20 hours a week. Why is that? Because it's not on time invested, it is on the result. It is on the value provided and created for the customer. So the customers are happily paying their money to no longer feel the pain of the problem that they have because you are solving it. The owner is solving it by spending on spend number 2, which is value at a discount by hiring an employee. Now, the other key to this, the other exciting part to this is every single time that you take steps 1 and 2 together, which is you pay yourself first, and then by paying yourself first, you're going to invest in your 2 largest spends, which your 2 largest spends should be your self-investment and then value at a discount. Anytime you do that, here's the best part about that. Anytime you do self-investment or value at a discount, it protects against both of your largest expenses. It protects against time and it protects against taxes. In the example of a logistics owner, when he hires the employee, that's a tax benefit
Yeah.
that he is no longer necessarily having to pay.
And he's saving the time because he's not doing that job.
Very good.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I feel like I'm in class right now. This is a college lecture I'm taking. I love when there's episodes where I'm learning too, because I'm sitting here like, I'm just like listening to you.
I wish this was in college. All the teachers would probably quit. That's why it's not in college. So anytime you're practicing spends 1 and 2, you're actually protecting against your 2 biggest expenses. And it's going to happen at a compounded rate over time.
Yeah.
So if you hire 1 employee, you have a tax benefit, okay? And you also have a time benefit. Now, when the profit comes in and you've got that tax and time benefit, depending on what you do with that, which should be spend number 2, which spend 1 and 2 again, which if you go out and spend, let's say he gets a physical item at value at a discount. So let's say he gets the $150,000 house at $90,000, right?
Yeah.
He just insured $60,000 in capital creation without time, and owning housing is a tax benefit.
Yeah.
Here's why tax benefits exist. Tax benefits exist so you will partner with the government without your knowledge. It's it. That's why tax benefits exist. They give you the tax benefit. That way you will do what benefits them. If you're hiring an employee, what does that do?
You're giving a job.
You're giving a job which creates revenue,
Yeah.
right? A tax burden for an employee or for a contractor, anything like that, which creates a responsibility to the government, right, to pay the government.
Yeah.
So you're keeping them monetized and fed. That's what they want. So they will give you a benefit, a tax benefit or a tax efficiency for making that decision. So you partner with the government in that sense.
Yeah. Same thing with the house. You're providing housing.
Very good. If you provide the housing for the worker who goes to work, that creates the revenue, which creates a tax burden, which pays the government, you're going to get a benefit.
Yeah.
So anytime you do spend 1 and 2, you are going to get a benefit of time and tax. That's why it's so important to understand these 2 steps. So if you pay yourself first, you will have the ability and the resources and the psychology to be able to take step number 2, which is spend where you need to actually become financially free over time. And again, nobody talks about this. Absolutely nobody.
This is really good. That's a good breakdown.
Nobody talks about this. They talk about like get money into a 401k, which, guys, the reason I don't like the 401k is because it has too many hands in it.
Yeah.
If you understand this process, you control it the entire time, and you are able to have the benefits that the 401k supposedly has. I'm using 401k as the example right now, but any traditional investment typically is going to have someone's hands in it. So this way, you can control it and have the benefit of it over time. And you're going to compound it at a much higher rate. It's because every single time that you make a new spend 1 in yourself or a spend 2 in value at a discount, your results are going to compound over time. Every good decision you make has a compounding positive result. Just like if you make bad decisions, if you become a drug addict, you're going to have compounding negative results, right? So let's say your first compounding positive result is you pay yourself first $10. What's your first result? Well, you got $10, right?
Yeah.
Now, most people would think like, oh, if I make 10 more of those decisions, I'm going to have $100. But that's not how it works. In reality, when you make 10 more good decisions, the second decision's really worth $30. The third decision's worth $100. The fourth decision's worth $1,000. Like, so you can make 10 good decisions and have a compounding result of $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 versus thinking that you were only going to have 100. That's the compound effect there. So when you make really high quality decisions on your spend 1 of invest in yourself, gain skill sets, and invest in yourself to the point where you can't even spend on yourself that much anymore because you're making too much. And number 2, value at a discount. You're always looking for something more valuable than what you're putting into it financially. Your life is going to get exponentially better faster than what you're actually putting into it. So let's say you put in $100,000 into investment over time. That thing's going to become $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 over time.
Yeah.
So the longer you hold the value at a discount, the better your life actually becomes. And while it actually protects even more and more and more against expense number 1, time, and expense number 2, taxes. Because the longer you hold your investments, typically the better tax benefit it has.
Okay, so obviously you've thought
that was probably a lot, but
you've thought about this a lot. You've
Yeah.
obviously been working on this for a long time.
Yes.
I think something good to leave the people with would be, were there any books that helped you understand this better? Any specific videos? Like, what media did you consume to come to these conclusions yourself?
So here's the best part about this. This was not media driven. This was me reflecting on all the actions I've taken over the past 15 years.
Okay.
And like really breaking down like what did it actually do? And also with working with so many people, specifically I basically turned the past year into a psychological study by like really taking time and looking at, because I had multiple clients become millionaires this year.
Yeah, you've seen a lot of one-on-one the connection between like their psychological decisions and like
people leaving their jobs, like
Yeah.
people betting on themselves, people having momentum in their self-spend and their value at a discount spend, like their assets are higher than they've ever been. And by the way, this is also during times where people were the most fearful, over the past couple of years. So like, why was that? So this is coming from me literally sitting down and taking notes and writing to myself about basically going deeper on every decision that I've made. So this actually didn't come from media or a channel or anything like that. But ironically enough, what really brought all of this together was somebody asking the question of, well, how do you pay yourself if there's nothing left at the end of the month?
Yeah.
Like that simple question actually brought together all of this. So I have to thank him for that.
What was that asked recently, like in the last week or so? Or was that a while ago? Okay.
That was asked on one of our reels.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. So was it somebody that we know, or did you?
It was somebody that I'd met before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was from the car scene. But like,
and you just like went into
it just triggered it in me to like have all of this be put together in one space.
Yeah.
Because I've been taking notes on it. I've been thinking about it a lot. I've been writing about it. Hint, hint. But like, that's when I realized, because I'm always trying to break things down to like a simpler level or a level of understanding that can be done in just a couple steps. That's two steps. 45-minute
podcast episode versus.
That's 2 steps.
Yeah.
That's 2 steps. Like no matter where you're at, it doesn't matter if you're, it doesn't matter where you're at. It doesn't matter if you're a successful business owner or living check to check. If you start organizing a self-pay account, there's going to be a psychological change in you. The psychological change in you will move you towards creativity, and that creativity space will move you into, I need to spend to improve my expenses on time and taxes, now that I understand that time and taxes is the two largest expenses that everybody has, and nobody's different. Stop thinking that you're different. You're not different. And the only way to overcome those two expenses is to spend, which sounds weird. If I have an expense, how do I overcome an expense? With spending. But the only way to overcome those is through spending. But what am I spending on? Like, most people don't think about that.
Yeah, it's the right things. It's not just spending money.
No, it's the fourth, fifth, sixth level consequence of whatever decision that I'm making right now that I'm focused on. So that's why this became so important to me, and me being me and writing about it for the past, couple weeks essentially. But
yeah, you went full blown college lecture today.
It's two steps. It's two steps. Like, when I break down my journey in its simplest possible form, I started with nothing, paycheck to paycheck, way into, like, people come to me like, I have $40,000 in credit debt. I wish I had that. What a cute number. I was financially crippled. And I then took a credit card and invested into a $5,000 program I bought a couple books first, and then I moved into like a few $100 program, and then like a $5,000 program. That was like my journey. But when I break that down now, that was a self-pay and a self-spend.
Yeah, it was. But at the time, you didn't realize what you were doing.
I had no clue what I was doing.
Yeah, you were just grasping at whatever you could to make money again.
I just knew I was in pain.
Yeah.
So I was just throwing money at things. And my mindset at that time was like, I already don't have it.
Yeah.
What's another 5? What's another 4? Like, what's that, $100 a month, $200 a month? All right, I'll figure that part out. But like, I got to get this now. And then that's when it transitioned into like, if I get a house, okay. Or if I get a house under contract and it's worth, I'll just do my first deal. The house was worth 15 and I got it for 7,500. So I made $7,500. That's my first value at a discount. I had a lot of time invested in that. That's when I started to learn about time and taxes.
Yeah.
Because the taxes.
And then the taxes came to bite you afterwards.
The taxes came after that. I was like, now I got to learn about that. How do I protect against that? Well, I got to keep the value at a discount. I can't sell the value at a discount.
Hi.
And you're saying hi. So 2 steps. If you can really understand it, if you can break that down, rewatch this episode, re-listen to this, think about it. Hey, how am I self-spending? What am I forecasting my spend on? Am I protecting against my 2 largest expenses, which is time and taxes? And if you can do that, you can become financially independent.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This is very comprehensive.
Absolutely. So if you guys have questions, please put them in the comments. I recently wrote a post about this on my Facebook page, and there's been a lot of questions and a lot of interaction, a lot of really good feedback. So if you want to go hop in on that, you can do that as well. But you can follow us on Instagram. Obviously, subscribe and like and share. Share this with a friend that you think is worth it. That's what I want you to do, actually. Never mind. Forget everything else. Share this with, I'm serious, share this with a friend that you can send them this link and you can go, hey, I really think you're worth this. And I think you're close. And if you did this, I think it would be worth it. I think that's what I want you to do, because I want to see an improvement in the community. That's what I care about.
Good.
Jazz hands.
Bye, guys.